Hello to everyone and all of our participants. Welcome to the fourth online event of the Lost Millennials project. My name is Athina Psariai and I will be your moderator for this event. The Lost Millennials project, funded by Iceland, Liechtenstein and Norway through the EEA and Norway Grants Fund for Youth Employment, focuses on a commonly neglected target group of the generation of millennials, young people aged between 25 and 29 years, who are out of employment or education and training, live in small towns in rural areas, and face multiple barriers to their inclusion in labor market. Through this event, we will identify in-demand skills and explore innovative approaches to training and education, including online learning, micro-credentialing, and experiential learning. We will also recognize the importance of soft skills and explore ways to support NEETs in developing these skills, which are often critical for success in the workplace. We will explore ways to address the barriers to upskilling and reskilling through target support services such as mentoring, coaching, and counseling, and provide ways in training and education in digital skills to young people. So we can start with our first speaker, who is Maria Grigoriadou. Maria holds a bachelor's degree in philosophy, pedagogy, psychology, and an MSc degree in counseling in special education, and health. She has previously served as the head of administration in the municipality of the city of Tyrnavos and currently works as a job counselor in the Greek Public Employment Service, VIPA. Maria is also an adult educator and a member of the teaching staff at the National Center for Public Administration. Maria, please, you can open your microphone, share your screen, and of course, start your presentation.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I'm very glad to be here today to discuss the matter of NEETs, because NEETs is a group at the age where my children are and my friends' children. And I see a lot of NEETs in the Greek public service, employment public service, where I work. So it's a matter that I really care about. So let me share my screen. Okay. As you all know, when we talk about NEETs, we don't talk about one thing. There are many subgroups in the NEETs group. And as someone once said, when you describe someone as NEET, it's like when a person goes to the doctor and the doctor describes him as being ill. Ill is correct, but it's not nearly accurate enough. So we have to keep in mind that NEETs are many different things. There are many subgroups: short-term unemployed, people who are unemployed for over a year, people who are in the situation of NEETs because of an illness or a disability, people, especially women, who have to take care of elderly or young children, and most of all, people who are discouraged and do not have lost hope that they can come back into education or labor. We know the risk factors. I want to stress that education is very important, and low levels of education or school failure is often connected to the situation of NEETs. We have to keep them in mind the vulnerable population groups like the immigrants, illness and disabilities, as I said before, people who live in remote areas, so they are deprived from many opportunities, are at risk. And we also have to keep in mind that the phenomenon of NEETs is an evidence that socioeconomic problems go from generation to generation. We often see that the parents of NEETs have lower income or lower education than the parents of the general population. And when we come to the Greek NEETs, unfortunately, we have the fourth highest percentage. We had the fourth highest percentage of NEETs in 2021 among the countries of the European Union. It is a percentage of 17.3%, while the target for 2030 is 9%. Unfortunately, women lead the way. And there is a peculiarity about Greek NEETs. There is a great percentage, a big percentage of NEETs that are graduates of higher education. This is a phenomenon that we find in the south of Europe. Fortunately, they don't suffer from such grave economic impoverishment thanks to the family ties and the support that they have from parents. And being in it, of course, has many negative effects about the person, because it affects the physical and mental health, the prospects, the future prospects, and the future earnings. But it has many negative effects to the society as well, because when people are NEETs for a long time, they lose their trust in the state and the institutions, and the society is deprived of valuable human resources. As I said, I work in the Greek Public Employment Service, and I would like to take the rest of my time to describe what we try to do in order to help NEETs in my organization. Some of the measures that I'm going to describe are not only about NEETs, are designed for larger groups, but NEETs are also make use of them and are helped by these measures. I would like to start with a short-term vocational training, the seminars, and I would like to give you the most recent example. There was a great scale vocational training in Greece in previous months. 120,000 unemployed people were trained in green and digital skills, and the propositions were to be unemployed, to be over 18 years old, and to have finished at least, have graduated at least from the compulsory education. So a great number of NEETs took advantage of these seminars and had the chance to be trained in green and digital skills. Next, I would like to tell you a few things about the apprenticeship schools. These are schools which called EPAS in Greek, and we are very proud of it. I would like to describe how it works. There are 51 apprenticeship schools throughout Greece, and every year almost 8,000 students are registered in these schools. The education program lasts 2 years, and the good thing is that it combines theoretical training and apprenticeship. This means that the students are placed in business, in organization, in companies, and work in the morning, and in the afternoon they get their theoretical training. So they are back to business from the moment they are enrolled in this school, and they also have an income from the very first moment. It's very important. This school, the students of this school are between the ages of 15 and 29. There are also, my organization also runs vocational training institutes in Greek called EEC. There are 31, and the students here are 18 years old or older, and they get vocational training. They have 4 semesters of theoretical training and laboratory training, and then 1 semester of internship, and it gives them a level 5 vocational specialty diploma. Another thing that we do to help NEETs is that we have experience acquisition programs. The most recent one was a program for young people between the ages of 18 to 30. It lasted 7 months, and DIPA, my organization, paid 100% of the cost of the people taking part in this program, the salary and everything that and all the cost. This was a very successful program, in my opinion. The last time it ran, I worked for matching between companies and NEETs. And in the end, we were very happy to see that many of the NEETs that were placed with this program went on working for the companies after the end of the program. There are also programs for business initiatives for young freelancers aged between 18 to 29. And in this case, if a young person wants to start a business, has to give us a business plan. And if it is approved, the young person starts its business and can be granted with as much as 14,800 euros. Of course, there are programs for vulnerable social groups, like people with disabilities, people who have not been able to graduate from compulsory education, Romani people, etc. And there are two kinds of programs as well for vulnerable social groups. Programs that place them to work, or programs that help them start their own business. There are also two schools, one in Thessaloniki and one in Athens, for people with disabilities. Especially the one in Thessaloniki is for people up to the age of 29 with mental disabilities or learning difficulties. And let's see some numbers. These are the statistics of my organization in April 2023. 927,000 people were registered in my organization as unemployed, and 143,000 of them were up to the age of 29 years old. We see that this is a big number, unfortunately. I'm here to tell you, of course, I am here to tell you what DIPA can do for NEETs, but I don't just want to represent my organization. I also want to represent the NEETs because, as I told you, I meet a lot of them in my office. So on behalf of them, I would like to tell you that being a NEET is like a trauma. And in psychology, when we want to treat trauma, we try to create the opposite experience of the experience that caused the trauma. I think we should keep that in mind and try to find in each case what is the factor that made this person be out of work, out of employment, out of training, and try to create the opposite experience. If it is isolation, then we have to create opportunities for the person to connect. If it is financial problems, then we have to find ways to give him opportunities to find financial help. The second thing I would like to say is that it would be very useful to focus more on results. It would be very useful to measure more effectively what works and in what percentage. So we learn from the policies that we have already applied and apply better policies in the future. Thank you very much for listening to me. and I'm looking forward to listen to the next speakers.
Maria, thank you very much for your presentation. First of all, I would like to say to our participants, if anyone has any question for Maria, you can write it down. You can find the Q&A on your menu, and now have questions for you. But thank you very much with your presentation, because I believe that you said light on effective approaches now for all your work that you're doing in VIPA. And once again, thank you, of course, and for being here with us.
Thank you too. I look forward to hearing to the next speakers.
So I cannot see any question. Maybe we don't have one. Okay, maybe now we have. We have a question from Effie Emmanuel. Have these programs had a real impact?
I believe they have. I believe they have. As I told you, the program about experience acquisition was a really effective one, because many NEETs were kept working in the same companies after the program was finished. PASS schools are also the schools that people can go to get vocational training, are also a very nice measure, because we see that people really get to learn a vocation, and they are in some cases so well connected to the labor that we see young people who have graduated from higher education, who have graduated from university, go back to PASS schools, because they realize that getting a qualification in this area would easily lead them to find a job in the market. So I gave you two examples. I could go on forever. I really believe that the solution is not easy, because there are many factors that can cause a person to be out of education or a job. But these measures help a great percentage of these people to get back on track.
Okay, thank you. It's very interesting, especially this that you said about the children that have already their education from a university and then come back. This is very important, I think, and we have to think about our education. Do we have any other question, please, for Maria? Maybe not. And now we can proceed with our next speaker, Mrs. Eleni Bletsa. Eleni is a lawyer linguist with a master's degree in public law and political science, specializing in constitutional law and human rights. She is an accredited mediator certified by CEDR UK, and has been actively involved in projects focusing on vulnerable social groups, including refugees and migrants, for the past 8 years. She has a keen interest in social entrepreneurship and believes in the value that such initiatives bring to communities. Currently, Eleni serves as the project manager of the YES project, EEA and Norway Grants Fund for the Youth Employment. And now, Eleni, you can open your microphone and tell us more about this project.
Thank you, Athina. Thank you, everyone in Joy's team. It's really a pleasure to be amongst you. And what can someone add after Maria, who happens to be a very bright example of a person working with national PES? I wish more people follow Maria's example. So just give me a moment to share my screen and my presentation. Can you just confirm whether this is visible or not? Great. So what we have decided to do today is just to share with you some aspects of our project, which is called YES, a project that targets NEETs who are aged 18 to 29 years old. So our age range is a little bit wider than that of Lost Millennials. And it is also a project that is funded under EA and Norway grants, as Athina said. YES project, as my colleagues in YES insist in saying, this seems to be the project with the longest title in the history of EA and Norway grants. So what seems to be so short as a title, YES project, which means Young Entrepreneurs Succeed, has all this whole explanation, which I would like to share with you, because parts of it are very crucial in order for you to understand what YES is all about. So the title is Scaling Trust-Based Partnership Models to Recharge Youth Entrepreneurship, Supporting Underserved Communities with Innovative Entrepreneurship Support Instruments. So the phrase trust-based partnership model is something that you will get to listen to afterwards as well. So this is just a glimpse in our website, which you can find in the bottom of my slide here, in case you're interested in learning more. So those who are involved in YES are actually 8 entities, but there are subtle or not that subtle differentiations amongst them. Why? Because this is the case of a project that is running with the help and the support of 3 types of organizations. That is academia, and I'm referring to the Agricultural University of Athens, who is the lead partner of the project. Then we have 4 implementing partners, that is ANCA, the development agency of Karditsa that I represent, and it is located in the heart of Greece. Then we have YBP in Poland, we have Microfinanza in Italy, and Autoocupación in Spain. And after these partners above, there are also 3 expertise partners who support implementing partners to better perform and deliver their services. So we have MBS, the Munich Business School, Kids Nova in Germany as well, and Youth Business International, YBI, in the United Kingdom. So what is the objective of the project? As I told you before, YES is targeting NEETs aged 18 to 29 years old in order to enable their access to the labor market or to facilitate their entrepreneurship. But how is this being done? Through which methodology and tools? So that's why now I guess you will understand why I insisted in reading the long title of our project, because one of the objectives is to pilot the trust-based partnership model, that is to enhance partnerships and collaboration amongst several and diverse entities and organizations, both public and private, in order to perform and deliver our services and be more efficient in what we are doing. Another objective is to gather evidence and improve results and create a social impact for this model. And the third objective is the mobilization of stakeholders and the advocacy for additional support for model scaling. So this is a project that is about to end at the end of 2023. However, now we are running, we're amidst the 5th year of its implementation, which is a long time. As we were trying to understand how we were to implement our services and our interventions, we managed to identify that there are needs. There are several types of needs, as Maria from the Unemployment Center said. So need is a very wide umbrella, like the ill persons. However, if you want to get to know needs better, you really need to understand that there are different types of needs, which means that there are also different needs of needs, and that's why you need different interventions, especially when you bear in mind that there is a different context and underlying problems in every case. So we if we were to depict the stages, even the emotional stages of a NEET, we could say that we usually start from the bottom step of the scale of the ladder. So it's like the feeling of I can do it. Then as we move forward or upwards, we meet the I want to do it. And the next step is how do I do it? Or I'll try to do it. Then I can do it. Then I will do it. And finally, and hopefully, yes, I did it. In order to really make it happen and reach the top step of the ladder, we chose to move forward with 3 main types of interventions. This is training, coaching, and mentoring. So it is not, yes, it has given us the opportunity not to focus just on one type of services, but in 3. Let's see each one of them separately. So as you may understand, trainings focus more on the development of our hard skills. Why? Because the knowledge we get to obtain through training is usually something that is related to something we know, we get to know better, something we get to learn. And then this is something that we also can easily prove, especially in comparison to our soft skills. So in regards to the type of trainings we have delivered so far, and at the moment we are in the 51st training of the project, we run both online and offline training courses of 50 hours each. So COVID-19 situation has brought several negative elements with it. However, although Karditsa is a rural area and we started working with NEETs in our rural area, the fact that we had to move our services into an online environment made us widen the umbrella of our target group and finally reach NEETs countrywide. So during COVID, we started to have an approach towards more online trainings, basically a lot of programming languages like Python, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, digital marketing, touristic marketing, video and board gaming. However, we have shifted, especially in the aftermath of COVID, towards more offline meetings lately. So some of them are makeup, coiffure, winery, social economy, entrepreneurship, social integration, barista, and woodcrafts. So apart from the wide, let's say, target of NEETs, we are very much interested in reaching out to those who are even more vulnerable. So a NEET is ex officio vulnerable. However, there are several vulnerable social groups amongst NEETs who should try to reach in order to provide our services to as well. So I'm referring to Roma population, persons with a refugee or migrant background, homeless persons, persons in the rehabilitation process, and at the moment we are also working with prisoners. Another type of intervention is the one of coaching. Now, when it comes to yes, it can be either employment or business coaching. As I guess you may understand, coaching can enhance both hard and soft skills. Hard through the acquaintance of knowledge we regard through this process, however, through also the development of certain soft skills. And this is being done not just through the relationship that is being built between the coach or the coachee or the mentor and the mentee, but also through specific coaching tools that target soft skills. So a person with, let's say, low soft skills is assigned some homework in order to integrate in his or her daily life and try to develop them further, to upscale and rescale them. So let's go back a little bit to the general service of coaching. As I mentioned before, there is employment and business coaching, but also in certain cases, access to finance is also an option through the compilation of an investment readiness plan. Now, when it comes to coaching, and now I'm referring to employment coaching at this specific slide, there are 4 hours of basic coaching services in which someone can have has the opportunity to do a Holland test, to have a SWOT analysis with us, and ends up in having an action plan with 6 months horizon in order to, with practical steps that are suggested to be followed by him or her. And then we have 3 extra coaching sessions on social media, CV, and preparation for a job interview, but through a role play. As of March 2021, YES has been able to reach out and be accessible to persons with a refugee, to needs with a refugee profile as well. For this specific target group, we have created some extra coaching tools in order to better adjust them to their profiles and their needs. Now, the third type of intervention is mentoring. It is to mention that in the very beginning, mentoring was a challenge for us. When it comes to mentoring, I need to point out that our mentors are people who voluntarily offer their services. So they do not get reimbursed for the services they offer. It's a volunteer service. So this was a challenge for us to be able to have mentors joining our network and being able to guide throughout a period of up to 6 months a need, in order to enable them either to access the labor market or entrepreneurship. However, we managed to have now an overall mentoring network of more than 123, if I'm not mistaken, mentors who are being trained also by us, and who also find other incentives in these some crucial and essential incentives in joining this service. This is the joy of offer. This is the networking with other like-minded people, and of course, their visibility. I also need to point out that the mentoring is also available for persons with a refugee background. So in order to reach out to even more vulnerable social groups than the wide category of needs, we had to follow specific outreach strategy in order to also boost and enhance the trust-based partnership model I referred to before. So we have been reaching out to neighbor municipalities under the same region. Athens municipality, which is the capital city in Greece, and runs a
I'm sorry, Eleni? Eleni, can you hear us?
I also cannot hear.
Maybe Eleni now has a problem with her Wi-Fi. Maybe we can give her just a time. I don't know if Maria is here, because I know that just as we were waiting for Eleni, I know that you would like to show us to our participants some Slido. No?
No, it was Ellen. It was Eleni Bletsa who wanted to do that.
Sorry. Then I will.
Never mind.
Sorry, my mistake. Okay, then.
She probably has a problem with her internet,
Yeah.
internet. So unfortunately, we didn't hear the last part of the presentation.
Yes, sure, but maybe in order to not lose time, I don't know if also Blanca is okay with this, to proceed with our next speaker, and then come back to Eleni.
Yes, I completely agree. Yes.
Okay, then. So we will go on now with our third speaker, Mrs. Cathrine Fredriksen Moe. Cathrine holds the position of Associate Professor in Mental Health at the Faculty of Nursing and Health Science at Nord University in Norway. Please, of course, you can now go on with your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Athina. And I'll just find my presentation here. So can you see it all right in the presentation mode?
Yes,
Great.
of course.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this important event. I'm Cathrine Fredriksen Moe, as Athina said, and I'll present a model for helping people experiencing mental illness into work, individual placement and support. And I'm part of a project both implementing and doing research on individual placement and support in Northern Norway. So I'll tell you about that project. But first, why employment and why work? And I believe that most of us agree that employment is important for us. And it has been stated over years that work is important for connecting people to reality and to society. And we do know that employment in some cases can be harmful and it could harm our health. But if we have appropriate employment, we know that there are a lot of benefits for us. For instance, it reduces the risk of developing mental health problems, and it provides us meaning and purposes in life, and social contacts, status and identity, and of course, financial benefits. And we also know that the proportion of people experiencing mental illness who are outside the workforce is increasing. And mental illness is the leading cause of disability in most Western countries now. And we also know that 2/3 of people with serious mental illness want to work, but only 15% are employed. And in studies asking young people with mental illness what they most want help with, employment is the leading perspective that they say they need and they want support from services. And as Maria also said in her presentation, there could be a trauma being outside the workforce. So for those who believe that work can be too stressful, we often say, as compared to what, if you think work is stressful, try to be unemployed. It is much worse. So individual placement and support, or IPS, is an approach then for helping people to gain and maintain competitive employment. And IPS is based on 8 evidence-based principles. It aims to get people into competitive employment. So it's not volunteering or sheltered work, but only competitive or ordinary employment. And IPS is open to all those who want to work. There are no exclusion based on diagnosis, health conditions, or benefits claim. And IPS tries to find jobs consistent with people's preferences. And it works quite quickly. Job search starts within 4 weeks. It's a rule then, even if a client has been off work for years. And IPS brings it's like a new profession called the employment specialists who works into clinical teams. So IPS is anchored in health services so that employment becomes part of the mental health treatment and recovery. An employment specialist, they develop relationships with employers in the local society based on the person's work preferences. And IPS provides ongoing individualized support for the person and their employer. And also, of course, there's benefits counseling included so that no one would gain less income if they choose to work. IPS has been studied for several years, and the results are convincing. IPS is a more effective way of working for achieving competitive employment than traditional vocational rehabilitation. And we have also conducted a meta-regression study where we can see that the effectiveness also can be generalized between countries. And for the interest, I guess, in this event, there has also been conducted trials, a randomized controlled trial for NEETs in Norway, showing the same results, that IPS is more effective than other approaches. But despite of the quite solid evidence of the effectiveness of IPS, implementation at a large scale and as a standard intervention, has not been the norm anywhere in the world. But for this project, IPS Nord, we have now tried to implement IPS at scale in the northern part of Norway. So here you can see a picture of, this is the northern part of Norway, and we now have 14 sites delivering IPS, and there's 53 full-time employment specialists employed across these sites. And just to tell you a little bit about the Norwegian context, guess like most countries, I guess, both in Europe and also in America, we have separate services for public, for health services and employment services. So we know when most health services are public, and we all have a separate public employment services named NAV. And of course, the clinical team, they belong to the health services, and the job seeker or the client or patient is also kind of anchored in health services. But then in Norway, most employment specialists are employed at NAV. So they work in a different sector than the clients they are supposed to help. So the implementation has been colored, I think, by these two sectors trying to collaborate closely and trying to provide an integrated service. So our experiences until now for the implementation has been that there has been some unclarity of the delegation of roles, responsibility, and anchoring of IPS in Norway. And there has been challenges, for instance, on access to records. The employment specialists who are employed at NAV don't get access to clinical records in health services. And also they don't get access to some meetings due to the patient confidentiality in clinical teams. And they also sometimes having trouble of being integrated as part of the other team members. And we have seen quite a high turnover of employment specialists, which is not unique for us. This is also a problem in the international literature. But we have seen that there are some elements being helpful. Being part of the IPSNOR network has been important for most sites. They feel like being part of a bigger community, which helps them resolve emerging problems. And of course, it helps to share success stories. A lot of people have been successful in gaining employment, and it helps to share these success stories. And in Norway, we also have quite strong policy and governmental support in establishing IPS. So it helps us argumenting for this way of working. And at the end, I'll just show the IPSNOR project. It's anchored at the Nordland Hospital in northern part of Norway. And it's the research is financed by the Norwegian Research Council. And we have a lot of international institutions being part of this project. So thank you.
Cathrine, thank you very much for your presentation and all this information that you gave us here on this event today. If anyone has any questions for Cathrine, please give us on the Q&A. We already have a question, not for you, Cathrine, yet. So an anonymous attendee, can the listeners receive the presentation later and contact details of the speakers for possible future collaboration? Of course, we can give you if all of our speakers are okay to share their presentations with you. So after that, after our event, we can share with you their presentations and of course their contacts if you want to come in touch with them. Okay, so do we have any other questions for Cathrine? Maybe not. Okay, perfect. So now, Cathrine, thank you once again for being here with us and for all this information you gave us today. We can come back to our second speaker, Eleni. I hope now that your Wi-Fi is okay.
I hope so. I cannot really guarantee the interruption or not. But, you know, the demon of internet, I will try to do my best and pray for luck.
Okay.
So let me share my screen again.
Yes, you have 10 minutes in order to finish your presentation, and then all of our participants can write down their questions, please.
So I guess that that was the last slides, right? You shared from me.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I'm moving on with the outreach process. So in order to be able to reach out to the most vulnerable social groups and the most vulnerable and let's say less bright side of needs, we had to reach out to several entities like neighbor municipalities, Athens municipality, which is the capital city in Greece, through their Center for Migrants and Refugees and their homeless department, municipal community centers and Roma annexes, women's centers, NEETs themselves, of course, it goes without saying, like a mouth from mouth word, third parties like NGOs working with persons from underserved communities, the Greek Forum of Refugees and Migrants, our local ecosystem, because we are lucky enough to have a local ecosystem of stakeholders who seems to be supportive and working well in our region. and rehabilitation centers and homeless day care centers and shelters. So if we were to talk with numbers now, these are the overall data as of 31st of March 2023. In regards to training, we have managed to train all of the partners I mean now, 2,644 NEETs. We have managed to coach 1,044 NEETs, and we have managed to mentor 319 mentees. Now, when it comes to outcomes, it seems that 607 jobs have been created in all countries. 825 NEETs are in active job searching or have returned to schools or back to their studies. 372 are in the process of starting their own business. So in total, 1,804 out of 2,644 NEETs that have completed at least one of our interventions with us seem to have tangible results and positive results in their lives. Now, under the project, we have chosen to implement a theory of change. So we have some inputs, that is, we invested on staff, money, experience, and knowledge transfer. And through our training, coaching, and mentoring, there were some either soft or hard outcomes and, of course, impact. Now, this table, this diagram reflects some results and the impact of the project in terms of more outcomes and impact and soft and hard indicators. So when it comes to Greece specifically, we show that the emotional capacity and economic benefits for the Greek NEETs were more enhanced than, let's say, in the case of Poland. Or in general, if we could say, and if we could share a conclusion, then we could say that the development of emotional capacity of NEETs who benefited from the interventions was really a serious impact that came out of the project. Now, it also seems that working with NEETs requires commitment, and this commitment should stem from both parties, coaches and mentors, and the NEETs themselves, of course. And we also managed to realize that NEETs can express a loss of enthusiasm in mentoring when the duration of the mentoring relationship is long. Now, when it comes to soft outcomes and impacts, we could distinguish that there has been an increase in self-efficacy and in social responsibility. Those were the two elements in which we saw the highest, let's say, outcome and impact in soft indicators. Now, when it comes to some hard indicators and hard impacts, we managed to see, at least during the first impact assessment phase, because we have not concluded with the overall project. So there are also results which remain to be seen and proven. It seems that those who undertook at least one of our interventions managed to have more than the unemployment benefits for the vast majority of NEETs were not granted to them. And it seems that the vast majority of them receives less than 600 euros per month. And most of them are, of course, not in employment or education, but there is also a slight percentage of self-employed person, of employed person or students that are either inactive or in low paid jobs or in precarious job positions. Now, if we were to distinguish by gender, first of all, let me say that women seem to be more than men. At least the female NEETs that undertook at least one of our interventions were more than men. We're talking about a percentage at the moment, 60 to 40% roughly. It seems that women started feeling more efficient after attending at least one of the interventions, and men had developed an increase and enhancement in their labor status. Now, when it comes to results by education, meaning those with and those without a university degree, it seems that those with a university degree became more self-efficient and had higher labor status after the intervention, and their trust in institutions was enhanced. However, the case was not the same for those without a university degree, who seem to have lost their trust in institutions. Now, results by age. It seems that when it comes to NEETs that were less than 25 years old, the feeling of self-efficacy was developed more. And in the case of NEETs aged 25 to 29 years old, their labor status was enhanced. So to summarize, some lessons learned, apart from those that were already shared with you, is the fact that emotional capabilities and economic benefits increased after following some, at least one of the interventions under YES. And those with a university degree, especially those between 25 and 29 years old, seem to have benefited more than the other NEETs. We also need to bear in mind that it's not always about numbers, meaning that KPIs is something that we have to bear in mind in order to reach our goals, but sometimes we need to dig deeper and to develop a culture of measuring success even when it comes to the less bright side of NEETs. So learning from success and failures is something that we should bear in mind, and also applying a holistic approach when possible seems also to be crucial. So not just implement one type of interventions, but a combination of intervention, like the one I mentioned before, training, coaching, and mentoring, not just one of them. Now, learn how to learn, because learning seems to be a process. So it seems that it's more efficient to reach out to NEETs first, then try to understand their target groups' profiles, pilot services, then mainstream them, and then share the learnings and experiences. Another thing that seems to be working well is the active engagement in public dialogue on youth employment phenomena, and the active contribution to policy co-design, co-creation, and co-delivery. When it comes to YES specifically and its visibility, let me share with you that it managed to be included in the catalog of SPRIC project under shared network with Catalog of Good Practices project when it comes to inclusion of refugees and migrants. It has also been presented before Universities Network, which is a European municipalities network consisting of the biggest municipalities across Europe. We have also taken part in the EAE Norway Grants annual seminar with a success story of a NEET with a refugee profile. And if someone is interested in seeing and learning more about success stories of NEETs, then you are welcome to visit our website. So that's from me, Athina. I will stop sharing my screen. However, let me ask Blanca if she managed to share with the participants via chat the Slido links. Blanca, could you please confirm?
Yes, I'm sharing it right now. Shall I share both of them?
No, the first one first, because I have to activate each one of them separately, Blanca. So thank you for that. What Blanca and I are inviting you now to do is to reply to a very short online polling, the replies to which I will be sharing through my share screen, so we can also see how the polling goes. So give me a second, please. So the first question is, if you were to choose only one of the elements used under YES project as the most important, which one of the following would that be? The trust-based partnership model, the outreach process to target the most vulnerable amongst NEETs, the combination of three types of interventions, or the impact assessment? So let me share with you. It seems that the polling is on, so thank you, Blanca, for that. So we can all see at the same moment the results. Let's give the participants another minute, please. It keeps changing. It seems that 11 participants have voted so far. And what they seem to have chosen, at least these 11 people, is the outreach process to target the most vulnerable amongst NEETs. So what I would invite you now to do, please stop replying to this specific question, is I would like to ask you, Blanca, to share the next polling. And the question to the next one is, which one of the following interventions do you consider as the most important one? So you will need to prioritize and rank them. I'm referring to training, coaching, and mentoring. Can you also see my screen now, or should I share it again? So, okay. We have the first results. And let's see how this goes. So 12 participants have voted so far. It seems that mentoring has been ranked as the first one, then it is training, and last but not least, I guess, coaching. So thank you for taking part in this survey. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to present our project, Athina and Joy's team, although there was this technical issue, and apologies for that.
No problem for the technical issues, because of course we are live, so we maybe have all this problem, and we are aware of this. Thank you very much for being positive from the first time to be here with us, and all the information that you gave us about the mentoring, the coaching, and all the process of the needs were very interesting. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And now we can proceed with our last but not least speakers. Sævar Ari Finnbogason and Bjarki Grönfeldt Gunnarsson. I'm so sorry if I said something wrong. Both of them possess extensive teaching experience, having instructed diverse groups at multiple educational levels, including lifelong education and training programs specifically targeting NEETs. So you can open your microphone. We can see your share screen.
Thank you. Our talk is probably going to be a little different because we decided to approach this from the educator's perspective, and our approach is perhaps a bit more future-oriented, you might say, in terms of bridging the digital skills gap. One might ask, now that artificial intelligence and large language models are becoming publicly available, whether or not we will need to build longer bridges in the future with the, like I said, with the advent of publicly available artificial intelligence. So the question we are focusing on is what impact this will have on the situation of NEETs, and how, as educators, we might address these challenges. So Bjarki, if you would take the floor.
Yes, certainly. Hi, everyone, and thank you for this meeting. So before we proceed, we want to tell you, share a few facts with you about the situation in Iceland, because Sævar and I, we both live and work in Iceland, and Bifröst University is an Icelandic university. So we've been trying to sort of tailor our approach to Iceland as well. So there's some basic statistics. So it's estimated that about 9.5% of 16 to 24-year-olds in the country are NEETs. So, but the big sort of explaining factor here is your immigration status. So about 8.8% of those who have no foreign background in this group are NEETs, while it's much higher for those with foreign or immigration background, where it's 13.1%. And for the group of NEETs who was born outside of Iceland and has immigrant parents, the share goes up to 20%. However, there is no stark gender difference. The share of NEETs among boys is a little higher, but nothing too substantial, as the big variable is if you have foreign or immigration background. And we know as well that those who drop out of primary or secondary education are at elevated risk. So this paints up two pictures. So it's the non-Icelandic speaking group of NEETs. So that's NEETs who have either limited or no knowledge of the local language. And then the group with no foreign background who is Icelandic speaking but has other fragilities, other aspects that make them more marginalized or more vulnerable to becoming NEETs. But a little bit about the context here. So the language, Icelandic, is key to integration. Its national identity here is inherently interwoven with the Icelandic language. And the language is absolutely fundamental in integration to society, making friends, finding jobs, etc. And the language remains a problem for the immigrant population for various reasons. First of all, it's a very complicated language. It's a small language, so the resources are they are available, but they're not necessarily all-encompassing. They're not necessarily freely available or readily available. But more specific to the topic that Sævar introduced, challenges for NEETs associated with AI and automation. So we know that this group, the NEETs, they already have challenges with IT skills and computer literacy and etc. And the risk now, the great risk now is that this gap widens rather than being bridged. So what we are concerned about is to make sure that the AI revolution narrows the gap, but not widen it. Because the risk is that if this demographic that we have been talking about fails to gain their skills and gain understanding of this new technology, that the risk is that the gap widens and they remain stuck at the IT skill bottom. So, but for some context, here in Iceland as well, AI will take some jobs, but not there may not be a net job loss at the lower education lower level of the education spectrum. So what these low-income jobs, they will probably be replaced by, so even though some of them may disappear, they will probably be replaced. And Sævar, take it away.
Yes, so the discussion about how AI will impact jobs is a rather complex one, in the sense that AI will, of course, create new opportunities that we cannot foresee now. I mean, we do not know what these jobs will be. We can only guess, of course, and the future is a different country, as people sometimes say. But the flip side of this is, of course, that these new jobs are likely to require a higher level of IT skills. So, but there seem to be a lot of opportunities regarding flexibility and remote jobs that that this technology can create. So this is going to be particularly helpful to many groups. And in terms of needs, 25 plus needs, for example, we see, for example, here in Iceland that people with mobility issues and single mothers, for example, and other groups like that may actually benefit hugely from this development. And if we consider the two largest groups of 25% plus needs, which Bjarki already mentioned, we are talking about the non-Icelandic speakers, immigrants, refugees, and also people who have moved here to Iceland to work, but are out of work for some reason. There are great opportunities in by offering free tutoring and personalized online education, and combining this with microcredits. And for this fragile group, that is to say Icelandic speaking needs, and by fragile groups we mean people who have some of these problems that we discussed earlier, microcredits may actually offer an incentive to start learning again. If we could have the next slide, please. So in terms of solutions then, AI can actually impact training and education. It can provide an opportunity to provide a very personalized curriculum. AI can, for example, with the use of large language models, and you know this, of course, if you have been following the development of AI and ChatGPT and all of these things that are going on now, and things are happening very fast, of course. Institutions like the Khan Academy have already started using personalized AI tutors. So there are huge opportunities here to tailor training and education and offer it at a mass scale, far more accessible than before. So this is going to be more flexible and adjustable to each student's schedule and needs, of course. And this will also offer a chance for people to start engaging with education. People who have, for example, stopped education, primary or secondary education, they can, under this scheme, if we offer microcredits that are that are applicable to that you can use, for example, to gain entry into universities and so on. People can engage this at their own speed, and sort of, I think we can call it learn to learn again, because often there is a barrier of entry into education, and this is perhaps the incentive that micro-credentials can offer. So next slide, please. And yes, let's see. So one of the challenges that people in this group are facing are, or may have caused people to fall out of or stop education, are problems such as dyslexia and attention deficit or hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. So, and we see this in this particular group, that many NEETs have difficulties in their education, and AI offers some ways to address this. I mean, text-to-speech technology is going to progress very fast in the coming years, and this is going to impact, of course, education. This will offer, you know, we can tailor this into this scheme of personalized AI education, so you can actually speak to your AI tutor, and I think this can also, because we can offer micro courses as well that can focus on different skill sets and productivity tools. So I think this is going to change the game. But next slide, if you please, Bjarki. Thank you. Yes. Would you like to add something to this discussion, Bjarki?
So there may be some, what we were thinking is some of the hurdles to integrating AI to curriculum or training for NEETs is there will be a high start cost, because of course there will have to be humans behind designing the system. So the start cost may be high, but at the same time, this approach is very scalable and can be applied to different levels and different stages of education. And it may sort of, because as Simon mentioned before, there are barriers to education, but this will make it very accessible. And there is currently sort of little incentive. There is little incentive for individuals to sort of sign up to these courses. In that accessibility may be a problem. And well, I mean, sort of the big picture stuff is that it's only a question of, it's not a question of if, but when this will, when artificial intelligence will be integrated into education in general. So it's important that training for NEETs is up to speed and doesn't fall behind in that, hence the gap that I referred to earlier.
Yes, and just to round this off, we are emphasizing here, and of course this is somewhat, of course, based on the national context here in Iceland, but I guess in many countries we have the same situation where the education system is a bit fragmented, and we also have all these different interventions in the labor market where different institutions and NGOs and all kinds of organizations are involved in offering different kinds of courses and so on. So all these interventions are very fragmented, and the courses that people often take during some of the programs that people are involved in, either through the labor office or some other institutions, tend to be, like Bjarki said, maybe, you know, maybe they do not count as, for example, credits towards further education. So, and this is, of course, problematic in terms of incentives to participate. And when we have this new technology, it offers a chance to simply not only be useful for NEETs per se, but also everyone else. So I think that a government intervention, a sort of a coordinated approach in terms of building these tools and implementing them is very necessary. And I think we need to sort of look at the overall approach to lifelong education and the actually education system itself as a whole in when we are talking about these issues. Yes, and I think that would be all. I would be very interested to discuss this further and hear your comments and questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, both of them, because all the AI challenges and new opportunities are very interesting in our day and age, because we also have to change more things in our lives. So if any of our participants has any question, please you can write it down. So we can wait now a little bit. I don't know if anyone of our speakers would like to say something about the AI technology that heard now from Sævar and Bjarki. Okay, maybe not, but I will give you more minutes to all of our attendees for their question. But now I would like to welcome Esther Shoni, Head for Research Institute, Project Coordinator of the Lost Millennials, in order to say a few words about this project. Esther, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, and I'm really sorry I couldn't join at the beginning. I had some technical issues. I really just wanted to say a few concluding words, if there are no questions, on behalf of the project overall, as today was the last of our online event series. So I wanted to say thank you, first of all, to all of our speakers, both today and also in past events. And also thank you for all of the participants who followed our events and has been following the project itself. Yes, and so as we're starting the last months of our project, we'll be sharing a lot of our results of our research activities gradually on our website. So please follow our social media and website so that you can see our results. Yeah, you can see in the chat the links to the website and our social media. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to us on the email address that we will share also in the chat. So please feel free to reach out to us about the project. And thank you again. Thank you, Athina, for moderating. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much. I have two questions or comments. First, the first one is from Esther Kosa. I really enjoyed the AI presentation. Thanks. Question or comment, let's say, not only the education tools will be impacted by AI, but also the content of education, as because of AI, the skills needed by the labor market will change too. And the second comment from the same participant, I assume the blue collar segment of the labor market will be less impacted by AI as the so-called white collar, better educated group.
Yes, maybe maybe I might pick up this ball and start with a second question, actually. I think the automation that we are going to see as a result of AI's proliferation is actually not going to impact the blue-collar segment is going to be less impacted, I think. And because these are jobs that require, of course, more physical labor. They're more physical labor intensive. You can see many jobs, for example, in healthcare, education of children, even, garbage collection or whatever. These kinds of jobs are very difficult to automate in a cost-effective way. So humans, will be doing these kinds of jobs. I mean, we can also always make some adjustments to how we organize these jobs. So I totally agree with you on this, Esther. I think that we are going to see it's going to impact us probably in this Zoom webinar more than it's going to impact blue-collar jobs. So I totally agree with that. And that is also, proceeding from that, I think we can move to the former question, how this is going to impact the content of the education itself, what we are teaching people and how we learn. And this is, education is going to be in the future, it's going to be a lifelong thing. We are going to be engaged in learning new skills, and probably, if I were considering now what kind of education I was going to get, I would probably choose something very general that emphasized sort of critical and analytical skills that I can build different skills, on top of, sort of. And I think education is going to be more like that in the future. And that's also one other reason to sort of change how we think about how we credit education, I think, sort of system-wide. Bjarki.
Yes, don't really have much to add. I think I covered it very well, but just to emphasize the importance of microcredits, which is actually a process that's going on in this university, which enables people to, engage in continuous education and still get credits that may contribute to a full degree at some point. Yes.
Eleni is raising her hand.
No, I just seized the opportunity following our colleagues from Iceland University presentation to mention that we have lately partnered under YES with an AI platform, which enables NEETs to combine their CV. The platform, let's say the team behind the platform is based in the Netherlands. However, it's a bit early to further share with you the impact that has been created. But what I want to say is that for me, at least, that age, in terms of age, I do not belong to the NEETs age category. It is rather impressive how artificial intelligence can do things that were, that are amazing, that we could not even imagine some years ago. So what the specific, at least, AI platform does is that it enables its users to add specific skills that they have, and then they are matched in certain countries with specific types of jobs. So it's not just a compilation of CV in all cases of all countries, because it depends on the translation of the platform. In certain countries of the platform has done more than just launching a website, a platform, or just translating its logistic content to it. But it has also liaised with job search engines in certain countries, and then based on the type of skills that you have added in the platform, then you're notified that you're eligible for specific type of jobs. So that, just a comment from my side, but I could share more in a few months. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eleni. And also we have a raising hand from Maria.
Eleni gave us a very nice example of a case where AI helps the NEETs. But on the other hand, when I'm thinking of NEETs and AI at the same time, I'm a little bit worried because, as we said, a risk factor for NEETs is school failure or lower education. So I'm afraid that now that even more skills are needed in order to be competitive, there is a great danger that the gap gets deeper and it gets more difficult to fill it and to bridge this gap. Just this comment, we have to be extra careful because vulnerable people might get more vulnerable if we don't make sure that they don't miss the opportunity to get in touch with AI and acquire the skills needed.
Sorry, Maria, that's a very good point, a very interesting one. But I said I cannot share the impact of what we are doing right now. I didn't say it's positive. We're expecting this result. Sorry, Sævar.
We hope that it will be positive then. Sævar, please.
Yes, Maria, this is actually a fantastic comment, and it relates to what we were talking about earlier, because when you look at the NEETs group, you know, the 25 plus NEETs, for example, I mean, these are people who are usually, you know, so some people have problems that prevent them from taking on these particular jobs that are, you know, like, for example, here in Iceland are abundant. You know, we need a lot more workers for these kinds of jobs, and we are importing them. You know, there's a huge immigration of labor to Iceland to fill these jobs. So, you know, there's actually a minus unemployment in Iceland if you look at it that way. You know, so but you know, so that's why I said in the beginning, you know, will we need to build longer bridges in the future? You know, if we want to bridge the digital gap, you know, maybe the bridge in 2030 will have to be twice as long, you know, because there's such a huge digital skills gap, you know, if we don't do something. So yeah, fantastic comment. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bjarki, I don't know if you would like to add something.
Yes, just very generally, I think we need to make sure that this new technology ends up being an equalizer, not a cause of more inequality. And I think there is a chance. I mean, I know there will be some very dramatic changes, but as we laid out in the presentation, there are also opportunities for this group, and we have to seize them.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments? Any other questions for our attendees? Maybe not. On the chat, of course, sorry, Eleni, of course.
No, it's okay. I was just thinking that based on our experience, at least, and based on what we see from NEETs when it comes especially to training, because it seems that they basically choose those trainings that are related to digital skills, to IT skills. And I'm thinking, and also based on the discussions we have, like on a one-to-one basis. It seems that there is a considerable percentage of them that is directed towards digital skills and IT skills, not because they love to do that, but because they see that this is the need coming from the labor market. And that's not something to be considered positive. So just a comment from myself.
I think that there is no coming back in the era, and now we have to be along with the technology. So this is why everyone is looking for digital skills. Of course, for all of us, either we have jobs or not, we have all of us to be with the technology now. Any other question? Maybe not. I would like to thank you all of you that were here today. Of course, our speakers. Of course, Esther, thank you very much for being here and saying the closing words. Of course, with the approval of our speakers, we can share their presentations and their contacts if anyone of our participants wants to come in touch with you. So I think that our event has come to an end.